And it shouldn't surprise anyone that according to a variety of reports, anywhere between 70 to 90% of all the guns that are recovered in crime scenes in Mexico are actually traced back to US gun sales. So if we're going to fight an effective fight against the cartels, we need to make sure that they cannot get their hands on US firearms. Now, without even including ammunition and gear, the retail value of US weapon sales, which go to the cartels, is around $500 million a year. So given that, it's unsurprising that according to the Council on Foreign Relations, over 50% of all US firearm dealers and up to 80% of border state federal firearms license dealers are actually dependent on Mexican cartel demand for their economic existence. So if you think about it, 1/2 of all US gun dealers would essentially go out of business if not for gun sales that end up in the hands of the cartels. So this is actually a huge public policy and public health crisis. Both sides of the border need to be involved. And if we actually want to take on human trafficking, the illegal guns that are coming from the United States play a huge role in funding these cartels. They're, of course, trafficking all of these families from Central and South America and Mexico.
Let's fact check that. What's up, Wolverines? Far be it for me to fact check the illustrious Congressman Robert Garcia, Democrat from California, and the Council on Foreign Relations, but that is just what I did. And some of the stuff I found out was a little bit shocking. But before we get into that, go ahead, like, comment, subscribe. It helps grow the channel and helps get my voice out there. And with stuff like this, especially fact checks on complete BS, it is important to let the general public know that what these guys are saying are either outright lies or twisting the facts in the case. So let's go ahead and review what he said and exactly what the real data shows. The esteemed congressman claimed that 50% of the gun stores in the United States would go out of business if it wasn't for the Mexican drug cartels. But before we see if that is true, we have to know where this came from. He got it from the Council on Foreign Relations, but they provided him with a 2013 study from the University of San Diego Transborder Institute titled "The Way of the Gun, Estimating Firearms Traffic Across the U.S.-Mexican Border." The first thing we need to do is to look at the claim. Did that study ever say that 50% of the gun stores in the United States would go out of business if it wasn't for the drug cartels? And the simple answer is no. The study never claimed that at all. But we're going to get more into the study because there's huge problems with the study. But the study never purported that 50% of gun stores in the United States would go out of business if it wasn't for the drug cartels. The study does conclude that 46.7% of the U.S. gun industry is dependent on U.S.-Mexico gun trade. This is not just illegal gun trades to the cartel. This is legal and illegal. So right on the face, we can say that Garcia lied or was lied to about the cartel activity in gun purchasing. The study also concludes that 2.2% of all guns made in the United States are bound for Mexico. This could be as low as 0.9%. They just picked 2.2 because it was a good round number, which I have a little bit of an issue with. They state that 253,000 guns were exported to Mexico between 2010 and 2012. The study estimates that this is 15% of all gun sales in the United States for that time period. Looking at just 2012, there were 17 million NICS checks ran by gun shops during that 1 year, which makes the number way off. So this study assumes a lot, and I think a lot of what it assumes is just wrong. There's an old saying that says, there are lies, damn lies, and statistics. And I think that they are making up a bunch of statistics to fit their narrative. During this same time period was the Fast and Furious gun walking operation by the ATF. So a lot of these guns could have been from the ATF themselves, which the study did not mention at all, and Rep. Garcia did not mention at all. But it is worth noting that the ATF was running guns to the Mexican cartels at the time of this study, so their data might be poisoned by these inflated numbers. The study did use profit margins to come up with its conclusion. It separated gun store profit margins into 3 different categories: low, medium, and high. And how they got to these profit margins is definitely interesting. For the low, they used 2.34%, which is the average profit margin of a food and beverage store. For the mid-range gun shop, they used 4.8, which is the average profit margin. If you take a hardware store, an electronics store, and a general store and combine them all, that is the average profit margin. And for the high end, they estimated it to be 7%. But they didn't really use anything for that. They just pulled 7% out of the air. They just assumed that it would be 7% if the low and medium profit margins were what they were, which might not even be the case because none of those businesses have anything to do with gun stores. They just picked random businesses and said, hey, this is what we're going to base our stuff on. They also state that their estimates might be overblown, so I guess that's a good thing. At least they're admitting that. They stated that some of the market for firearms might be people who live near the border who fear criminals coming over the border. So basically, Americans who live on this side of the Texas border or the Arizona border. Also, there could be legal immigrants in the United States who buy guns legally and hold the guns legally. They also included that in the numbers of guns flowing to Mexico. Not only that, but militias. Yes, they included militias that patrol the border as part of those numbers. Now, this is where it gets very interesting. They also included numbers from Customs and Border Patrol officers and ICE officers. So basically, they counted law enforcement officers' guns in their numbers. We can definitely say that their numbers are overblown. Not only that, but any gun destined for South America, like Brazil or any other country that transverses Mexico, let's say a flight has a stopover in Mexico and then it goes to Brazil to sell firearms legally in that country, that is going to be included in the numbers of U.S.-Mexico gun trade. So it's not a very, very good study, and you can see where there's a lot of problems, and you can see why it wasn't peer reviewed. Now let's look at the point of the study. The point of the study is to point to the government and say, these are things that you need to do. A few things that they say need to be done is for the government to share tax information on guns so they can determine what counties sell the most guns. That would be any type of border county whatsoever. They also state that cash purchases for firearms in border states should be banned. They will require you to buy via check or credit card. That is to create a paper trail to be easily tracked. Another thing that they want done is a registry. Now, a registry is illegal in the United States. The federal government cannot hold a gun registry. But what they want done is Mexico to keep a registry themselves of firearms traces and firearm sales and everything else and share the information back to the United States. And I'm not talking about just things in Mexico. I am talking about Mexico holding the data and the U.S. accessing the data. Basically, it's kind of like a workaround for the law preventing a gun registry. They want Mexico to do it. Now, let's look at enhanced background checks. They do want enhanced background checks, though they do not provide exactly what type of enhanced background checks or what additional checks would be done. It just said enhanced background checks. This is what we are facing. They also want FFLs to work more closely with the ATF, develop a system of self-reporting, and also self-checks, which I don't think will happen, especially with the Biden war on FFLs, where FFL revocations are up so much. Why would you report something you did wrong to the ATF if they're just going to shut down your business and take away your livelihood? Now, let's look at who did the study. Like I said, it was from the Trans-Border Institute, which is a part of the Joan B. Kroc School of Peace Studies. This is definitely an anti-gun organization that is ran out of the University of San Diego. The lead researcher, his name is Professor Topher McDougall, has written multiple anti-gun articles in the past. And for this reason, I and AmmoLand have determined that the congressman is full of crap, and we mark his assertion as not only crazy, but also false. So that's what I do. I do my research. I investigate. That's part of being an investigative journalist. And if you want to help me make videos like this and do more investigations, you can support me at one of the links below in the description. Super chats are on, memberships, all that good stuff. Not begging, but just saying, if you want to throw a couple extra dollars, I'm not going to complain, and it will go to good use. All right, guys, I hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving. Enjoy it with your family. It's going to be a lot of fun over here. I got a lot of family members in the house this week. So also be careful. There's a lot of crazy stuff going on out there right now. So keep your head on a swivel, as the kids like to say, but don't worry too much, because the chances of anything bad happening is really minimal. Maybe something bad will happen somewhere, but chances of you being involved in it is astronomically low. All right, guys. But you have to stay ever vigilant, you stay ever free, and you got to keep in the fight. My name is John Crump, and I'm out of here. Wolverine's mother...